far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a cyclist. The chef part came later. Both the cycling world and the restaurant business are extremely demanding, can be incredibly hectic.
What time's everybody coming over? Shortly?
But also intensely rewarding. Right? They require skill, like skills that aren't something you just pick up, right? So if you're like sprinting, right? If you're climbing, if you're chopping, if you're whatever it is, right? Like, it's not something you're just like, oh yeah, well, I think I did it like twice. I'm good. Think of all the stuff in cycling, all the stuff in the kitchen, in the restaurant business. It's repetitive in nature, and then where you're constantly trying to excel at something, that repetition is the foundation. They don't match well. They both make you tired. They both take a long time. They both require a lot of skill and a lot of patience and a lot of repetition, and they both require a lot of energy. And so you're drawing down on all the same resources all at the same time, and the one thing you can't make more of is time. So every day when I wake up, I already know there's 97 things that I don't know yet that are gonna happen to me today. And so someone says, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with the stress? It's like I know it's coming. It's like standing in the ocean knowing the waves are coming. When will they stop? Never. So the way I came to San Francisco was I was living in Southern California running a restaurant for somebody else, and I would come up here and find that a lot of the food product I wanted to work with was coming from up here. So when an opportunity came to run a restaurant here, I took that opportunity knowing that I was moving myself essentially closer to the product that I wanted to work with, cooking. What I didn't necessarily realize at the time was that I was moving myself closer to probably one of the best places to ride a bike on the planet. I could be from one side to the other in 25 minutes on a bicycle. On foot, you're a lot more limited. You know, you get on a bicycle and it's freedom. And you can see a lot. I mean, you're moving fast, but you're also moving slow. You're moving slow enough to take it all in, the experience. You have the wind in your face, your eyes, you know, you can slow down and actually see what you're riding past and what you're doing. There are no lulls here in San Francisco. You hit a wall where in the course of one block, you're in an entirely new and radically different location. It's a patchwork of a bunch of different neighborhoods that all have different vibes, different feels, different coffee places, different restaurants. The weather here can be all over the place. It could be sunny one minute, and then you get to the other side of the city, and it's freezing and foggy. I think this city is a great analogy for my life. It's just a series of contradictions. The pace of city life can be a bit of a blur. But as soon as you get across the bridge, silence. In the kitchen, I'm willing to use family memories, childhood memories, things that my grandma made me, life experiences that I had. Everything is just gathering and collecting those experiences, and then they sort of crystallize. Some dishes take 5 minutes to come together in your head, and some take 5 years. And so it's a lifelong endeavor, it's a lifelong process, it's a lifelong learning. And so I think it takes everything of who you are. And a lot of times when you need to be creative and stress is high, I think that part of your brain shuts down. Everything in the kitchen is now. But then there's also the meditation, like making pasta by hand, you know, is a meditative kind of thing, or, you know, cleaning fava beans or whatever it is, like this repetitive process that once you click into it, you're doing the same thing over and over again. And then there's a mental freedom within that, I think. So you're creating stress and relieving it at the same time. It's a cycle. If I go out on a long bike ride, somehow that relieves the stress because you get yourself too tired to think about much else, and all of a sudden those pathways open back up. And I think cycling has opened up a lot of doors, again, about experience, about seeing the world, and creating memories, the memories that you take with you. So for me, that was an initial wonderment, and I also began to understand, like, wow, I'm seeing the world. And the way that I specifically fell in love with the bicycle as sort of a vehicle for competition or racing was a friend's father who was tremendously into European cycling, things like the Tour de France. And that was, a time when that coverage was on at a specific time, which was the middle of the night. And we would wake up at the middle of the night and watch with him people racing in Europe. And I would look at what those people were doing, where they were doing it, and think, I've never been there. I wonder if I could ever go there. I wonder if that could be me. And I fell in love with the bicycle, but also fell in love with the idea of what that was. And so I started to pursue cycling as a vehicle for knowing the world. Ask yourself, well, how far can this go? You don't know what your limits are. I mean, sometimes people will try to tell you what your limits are, and sometimes maybe that makes you push harder. So can I go to Europe? Can I race my bicycle in Europe? Those are the kind of questions I was asking. I was doing all the local races. I was traveling to do races. And then at some point I was messing around outside school and we were playing Frisbee, of all things. I mean, just like sometimes your life will change. You had no idea. And you'd have no idea that something that's about to happen in the next second that's going to change the rest of your life. And the day that I was playing Frisbee outside of high school, jump up, catch the Frisbee, land, and my right leg shatters. And
we can't do that.
Even in that moment, I remember I fell on my back and I looked and I'm on my back and my right heel was in the air. And I thought, that's not at all correct. Turns out a bone tumor in my right leg, and that the older I got, the taller I got, the bigger the bone tumor got, because it had been there since birth. I had to learn to walk again. I was in a wheelchair for months and months. I was on crutches that I could just stand still for months and months. I tried to go back to bicycle racing, and it's sort of like you were reading a book all together with a bunch of people, and then somebody tore out the middle chapters, and you try to pick it up at the end, and you don't really know what's going on. Today I walk fine. Today I race my bike again. There was a long period of time in the middle where I became a chef. At a young age, you sort of imagine what you think things will be, and you sort of don't have a reason to know why it wouldn't go that way. Rarely do I ever set out to do something and have it go from point A to point B in a straight line. But overcoming adversity is the first step in understanding that you'll face more of it. So everything in my life is about creating memories, and who wants to share that with other people and live the best life that I can. At the end of the day, people, what do you take with you? Memories.